Hey there, I'm Aaron Cheslock. Welcome into In Depth with Fox Carolina Sports, where we go in depth with local athletes and coaches and find out how they've reached the level that they're at, walk the path with them. And we've got a former player and a coach with us today, and one of the best to ever don the offensive lineman jersey at Clemson University, Jay Guillermo. Jay, first of all, thanks for joining us, man. I know you got a lot going on, so I'd certainly appreciate you taking the time. What's life like nowadays? You're still on the football field, but it's a different gig now.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It is a little different being on the other side, but it's something that I felt like since I was a kid, I was kind of destined to do. I've always been around football, start with my grandfather being a football coach, and then the great people I was fortunate enough to be around at Clemson with Coach Sweeney, Coach Caldwell, all those guys. So, it's different being on this side, but I really see it as a blessing just because I'm so new out of playing ball that I feel like I really get to connect with these guys as a younger guy and almost being their age. So it's really special.
Jay Guillermo, now the tight ends coach at Western Carolina. You picked a heck of a time to jump into coaching. I know you're a couple years in, but you take the job early on in 2020, and boy, did the world change in 2020. Now you're in the middle of getting set to wrap up here, a spring season. You've been in the game for a little over a decade now. Is this the strangest thing you've ever gone through?
Oh man, for sure, for sure. I mean, who could have foreseen the last year? Really, But I think that we've done a good job here of being able to manage it, and the guys here, the players here, have done a great job of just kind of rolling with the punches. They get told they can't have spring ball. Well, then they get told that they're not going to have a season. Well, then they told that they are going to have a season, and it's so different, but it really brings out the character in people and shows who's in it for the right reasons, and who's going to come out here and give their all, and people that really love it. And that's what, once again, I'm so appreciative of, because we've not had really big issue with our guys. I mean, they've really done everything we've asked them with the protocols and everything like that, because they want to play ball and they know that it's important to do those things.
When a spring season's a dicey thing for any staff, let alone a guy new in his career. A lot of things factor into that. You're dealing with the mental aspect of these guys playing an actual season when they're not accustomed to, and then the physical aspect where you need to guys get to be ready to play week to week, and that's talking trying to stay away from COVID, but also normal football injuries, which are still an issue, knowing
Yeah.
full well that you've got another season coming up in the fall. How have you been able to balance all that? Because that's a lot to take on, a lot to keep in mind
Yeah.
in the middle of a season.
Well, and for one, it starts with our guys being smart and knowing, that COVID is real and that it is something that needs to be taken seriously, and so I think that our guys have a good grasp on that, and it's really, if we want to make the most of our season right now, we've got to be smart with COVID and the protocols and wearing masks and all that. So, I think that that's one thing that's really stressing that point to those guys, and they've done a good job of. But also, I think Coach Spear, our head coach here, has done a really, really nice job of taking care of their bodies. Just understanding that we can't go out there and have these big long practices and ask them to perform whenever we just played in the fall for a few games. We're playing in the spring now, then we're going to go play back again in the fall. And so just trying to be smart with their bodies and how much workload you put on them during the season. I mean, it's been a challenge, but I think Coach Spear and all the coaches here have done a really good job of putting a plan together of keeping those guys as fresh as possible.
How are you personally? I mentioned you took the job there literally in January of 2020. So you move up there to Cullowhee, and then all of a sudden the world stops, sports gets canceled.
Yeah.
So you've had to delve into a new program with about as many hurdles to clear as anyone I can really imagine starting a coaching gig. How have you handled it personally? And, you know, just overall, how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing great. My wife and I, whenever we moved up here, I mean, came up here with open arms. Just, the staff here and the staff's wives, really, really welcomed us in. And that helped a lot through COVID, because up here in Cullowhee, there's not, it's not a big city, and so having that family atmosphere around here was awesome, but is it ideal the way that my, first real full-time job started? No, absolutely not. But, it's just going and making the best out of any situation. And I feel like that's what we've been able to do. And, really just fell in love with it up here in Cullowhee, because whenever everything shut down, you're really going to find out if you like somewhere that you're living or not. Right. So, but just being able to get out around here and go see nature, man, I've done more hiking in the past year than I've done in my entire life. I mean, my wife and I are very happy and, expecting a little girl here soon. So, things couldn't be going better in the Guillermo household for sure.
Well, for someone that's a father of 2, 3, and under, Godspeed there, my friend.
Oh yeah,
different ball game, let me tell you.
For sure.
For a lot of good reasons too.
Oh yeah.
When you look at how you were as a player, the guy I covered at Clemson, super upbeat, full of one-liners. One of our favorite people to talk to because you always busted us up every time.
Oh yeah.
How does that compare to Coach Guillermo? And maybe what have you taken from Coach Elliott or Coach Caldwell, Coach Scott, Coach Sweeney? Break down for us what Coach Guillermo is like compared to the player that we know.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Coach Guillermo is not much different than the player, just as in, always coming in with a great attitude. I mean, my guys ask me every day, how are you doing? I tell them never better, best day of my life. That's how it is. And that's how I'm going to be. I think that the biggest thing is whenever you get into coaching, you don't have to change who you are. If guys enjoy being around you and like who you are as a person, they're going to play hard for you. And so, I always start all my meetings asking everybody what the best part of their day was, and then we'll have a joke of the day, so who I was as a player is exactly who I am as a coach. I mean, just because that's who I am as a person. I'm going to laugh, I'm going to joke. Of course, whenever it's time to work, it's time to work. But, being able to balance having a good time, having fun, and also getting work done, something that I felt like I did while I was at Clemson, and something that the coaches, Coach Elliott, Coach Scott, Coach Sweeney, Coach Caldwell, all those guys knew how to balance those two. And it wasn't just work. It was fun to go out there and fun as possible to go to practice. So, that's just what I try and do. And I've stolen a few of Caldwell's one-liners, maybe some that I shouldn't repeat, but, he was a huge influence on me just because I was with him every day. He was my position coach, and I think he's one of the best in the country at what he does, and love him to death. He's like a grandfather to me. So, I've stolen some one-liners and some of his tactics, I guess.
Well, he certainly has a pretty good track record, and you're one of the reasons why. And I want to walk your path a little bit. In 2011, you're getting recruited by tons of programs, rated top 5 center in the country, number 1 center I think by ESPN. Why Clemson? Why did you end up going to Clemson?
It's where I wanted to go since I was a little kid, and that's what a lot of the guys ask me. They say, why there? And I said, well, for one, that's what, I already had my mindset since I was 8 years old. I was going to go to Clemson University, but man, it was just the people, the people there, they cared about one another, and they knew that it was more than just football. Football was what we did and what we were going to school for. We were able to go to school because of football, but, that's not who we were. And I think through my career, that was more than evident that that's how they feel at Clemson. And that's something that I really appreciated. And you could tell that, the recruiting pitches weren't about what all they had. Sure, they would show you and take you on tours, but it was about the people there. And that's something that really stood out to me, that, they didn't have to talk about another program and negative recruit, against another program, because they were so confident in what they had there and the people that they had there, that they didn't need to say, hey, well, South Carolina doesn't have this, or so-and-so doesn't have this. They just, focused on what they had and who they were. And that's something that, you don't get everywhere, and something that I really appreciated and try and do now as a coach.
And, for maybe some of the younger folks that are watching or listening to this isn't, Clemson's not the dynasty that they are right now at that point. They had just started kind of turning the corner, and you could see the building blocks are there. But Jay coming in is one of the big reasons why they got to that level later on in the decade. But, you had to pay your dues too. 2012, you redshirt. 2013, you split time with Ryan Norton, another great guy that I love talking to.
Hell yeah.
But when you really come into form as a young player, it's really a changing of the guard. 2013, you guys had the big win in the Orange Bowl over Ohio State, but then Taj and Sammy and Martavis and all these guys leave, and it's really a new chapter in the story of Clemson. What do you remember most about that? Just kind of the uncertainty after the 2013 season of, we know who we have coming back, but we know we're losing a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where I feel like at that point in time, I mean, I had seen nothing really but success there at Clemson. And so that's kind of what we expected. It was almost like well, it doesn't matter who's coming back because we're going to win because we've been winning. We haven't lost a bowl game. We're going to continue to win. I'm sure we've had some slip ups here and there. We didn't go, 14-0 every season, but that was the expectation. And that was from day one. Whenever I walked in the door, it was, best is a standard. Now, that's whatever the best that team had. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand about that quote is it wasn't being the best as a standard. It's never been being the best. It's being our best, And so, but we felt and we were so confident as a group that we felt like, hey, well, we're going to come in and we're going to be the best, So things never really changed. It was just kind of next man up. And, for me personally, I mean, it was, obviously I was trying to get in there because I wanted to perform at my best. And I felt like, I had something that could help the team and be able to get in there and get a few more snaps.
2014 doesn't go the way you guys really wanted it to. And you in particular had a challenging year. You broke your foot in the NC State game, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
So you're out about a month. You end up coming back and finishing the season. And I believe you play in the Russell Athletic Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Another big win over Oklahoma. But after that, there's a major speed bump in Jay Guillermo's life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to give you the floor here. And if you could just walk us through what happened. I'm assuming it's a little easier to encapsulate it since the last time we talked about it, which was 2015. But what happens after the 2014 season? If you could just walk us through the next 4 or 5 months.
Well, basically in a nutshell, I mean, I had just been kind of having some personal battles and really doubting if I wanted to play football or not, to be completely honest. And, that all kind of came to a head right after that season. And, I'd gained some weight, gotten pretty unhealthy, just wasn't happy with myself, just outside of football and playing, so that really took a toll on me and personally. And, so really I basically just called up my mother and said, hey, I don't know if I'm wanting to do this anymore. And so I obviously took her by surprise. And so after that, I went and talked to Coach Sweeney and said, hey, I'm thinking about stepping away from this thing. I just don't know if it's for me anymore. I don't know if I love it. I was just lost as a person. Had kind of gotten away from my identity and, so there, I mean, I was just, like I said, just lost and was battling some depression and, thoughts of, anxiety and stuff like that. And, really, Coach Sweeney after that did a fantastic job, of just saying, okay, look, man, take a step back, take a deep breath. Football doesn't matter. Okay. You matter. And we're going to do what's best for you. And so pretty much after that, he left it, ball was in my court. He said, look, I would like you to see a therapist. I would like you to try and get help. If you decide to never play football again, you still have your scholarship. Nothing's going to change on that front. So don't let that be a stressor in your life. And so he basically just put the ball in my court and said, this is what I'd like you to do. And first and foremost, I want you to go get better. And so, dealing with, just really going and a few months after that, that was really in February. a few months after that was just continuing to go see a therapist. Can start to get my body back right, because physical health, I mean, is one big thing into mental health, right? So I knew that I was pretty overweight at that time, and that was something that I needed to get fixed. And so really just a whole, I guess, total body transformation from spiritually, mentally, and physically. And so, just went back home and worked my tail off. Had a lot of people around me, just my family, the coaches at Clemson. I mean, had a big support group that was by my side the whole time. And it was never, hey, when you getting back? It was, hey, how are you doing? It was never about football. It was never about when can you get back to campus. It was never anything like that. It was always, how are you doing? How are things going? How's your parents? I mean, it was anything but just, hey, when are you going to get back? So really just until, let's see, I think it was June, May or June was whenever I called, Coach Sweeney and told him, look, I've gotten healthier. I'm getting my mind straight. Just, I'm learning how to deal with things mentally. And, so I said, I think I would like to come back if you would have me. And he said, man, I would be more than happy to have you come back. And then, after that, I was kind of worried because I didn't know how I was going to be just brought back in for my teammates. And, I'd missed spring. So I was like, man, am I kind of going to be like looked at as he just skipped spring so he could come back here in the summer. That was one thing that really worried me. But man, those guys they brought me back in with open arms and, welcomed me back in and it's like I'd never left. And, kind of the rest after that, just started working out with the team again, feeling like my old self, and the rest is history. Was able to show what I could do and get back in a healthy headspace and really take care of my business in the classroom and on the field and be able to go and help our team end up being a good football team.
Now, we're going to go back on the rest of your journey there. And certainly you were a major part of that, the next couple of years. But I'm curious, the stigma that comes along with mental health and certainly a sport like football where so many tough guys start to get a little bit more in the forefront now. But was that part of your concern that, obviously guys know that you're a tough guy.
Yeah.
When you come back from a hiatus like that, I mean, were you worried that opinions of you changed or anything like that?
Well, I mean, for sure, you always worry about that. I mean, or at least I'm a person that, and I've learned how to not do this, but at the time, it was always what other people thought of me. I never really thought for myself. I was always worried about what the next guy thought of me. I think that was part of kind of why I had got down on myself. But, sure, there is definitely a stigma, and there's definitely, I know in my head, I was like, well, I can't tell anybody that I'm thinking bad or, that I feel bad or that I feel depressed or, not so hot today because, I'm the dude that's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be the happy guy, right? I'm supposed to be the jokester. I'm supposed to be this and that. And, so sure, it was definitely there. But, once again, I mean, it was like there were no opinions that changed. I mean, it was, as soon as I got back, it was like I'd never left, and one thing that just goes to show, I mean, the true family atmosphere that we had and, the love that we had for each other. It didn't matter. Once again, it's like football didn't matter. It was like, we were a family and, oh man, a guy that was in our family that was sick is now better. We're all happy for him, regardless of what he may have missed football wise. That doesn't matter. It's all about him being better. And I really appreciated that.
And more often than not, the stories that I've seen that are somewhat similar, that's usually the reaction. It's just never what you think it's going to be. Right. But it's, I'm sure that was pretty relieving. But before we move on, you're in a unique position where we're hopefully coming to the end of a pandemic, but it has impacted the sports world a ton. You have a lot of athletes that saw their seasons get canceled. Now, with the transfer portal and extra years of eligibility, It's really affecting high school recruiting, and there's a log jam now in that system. I would imagine that there's a lot of guys that have that same dream that you achieved, that want to go win a national championship, and they think about it all the time. And now there's more hurdles thrown in their way. Pretty easy to see how guys can get depressed. Have you talked to anybody that's going through that sort of thing? And what would your message be for guys that are really having a hard time handling everything that's, I mean, even guys that aren't athletes, mental health an issue right now, given all the world's going through. Have you had an experience in the last year where you're talking to somebody and you're seeing it firsthand? And what advice would you give to folks that are watching this, or maybe have a family member that could be going through the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a couple people that have reached out, even people here at Western that have reached out, just about it, because, being in isolation for so long isn't easy for people. You wouldn't know it, but, I'm kind of an introvert, so being away and being isolated in my house by myself, that wasn't a big deal for me. It didn't affect me very much, but, my wife is someone that is an extreme extrovert. I mean, she has to be around people. And, I think she really was someone that I'm not going to say struggled, but, had a hard time with the pandemic and with everything being locked down and having to go into isolation because she is such an extrovert, so I have had people that have reached out, just to say, hey, how did you go through what you did? Even though it wasn't during a pandemic and whatnot. But the biggest advice, that I have for anyone that I would say, is, for one, find something that you enjoy doing outside of your normal routine, right? So for me, it was, sure, I enjoyed playing football, but I had to find something that I enjoyed doing outside of it, because, football got taken away from me there for just a tiny little bit, whenever I broke my foot, and it threw me off. So it's finding something that you enjoy doing that's out of your normal routine. And, and it's really something that I do every night, is I just kind of sit back before I go to bed, and I'm laying in my bed, and I just, I always think of what was the best part of my day. And it may seem so small and simple. And, there are a lot of other things that you can do, but just something that works for me is it's ending it on a positive note. And even if I've had an extremely stressful day, it's like, what was the best part of it may be the breakfast that I had this morning. Was like, man, that breakfast slapped. Like, that was so good, but it's just finding something positive that day. Once again, it's just ending my day on a high note. And then, just coming to, and it's much easier said than done, but trying to have a positive attitude no matter what life throws at you, right? Like I said, that's way easier said than done. But it's constantly, there are things, just through COVID, that us as a staff and here at Western that we've had to deal with that's not normal. And it's just like, all right, well, it's going to be a great day and we're going to make the best out of it, and so it's continuing to try and have such a positive mindset that it's nothing can take you down and nothing can bring you down, and like I said, it's much easier said than done, but whenever you do it over and day after day after day after day, it becomes a habit, so to me, it's like, even whenever my guys ask me, Coach G, how you doing today? Like, before I can even think of how I'm doing, I say, never better, best day of my life, and so it's become a habit, and that coming out of my mouth subconsciously in my mind, it's the best day of my life. So, those are just a few little things. I said you can kind of go more in depth with it, but those are like things that I do just even now consistently, that just keep me with a positive mindset and always thinking, in the right way and trying to make the best out of everything.
Well, I think that's great advice, and it's really easy to keep that all internalized, but, a big tough guy like you can speak up, and, the proof's in the pudding. It helps. And, there's always someone there to listen. So I hope that if anyone is feeling any kind of emotions like that, you take those words to heart there. And boy, you came back with a vengeance. Back-to-back national championship games. You win the Natty in 2016, ride off into the sunset with Deshaun and actually, I think Artavis came back another year, if I'm not mistaken, but Wayne and all these great players in that 2016 national championship team. We all know the story. of how you guys won it.
Oh yeah.
What's the thing that you look back on in the 2-year stint there to finish up your career that you look back on fondly that maybe we don't know about, or maybe something that we wouldn't expect when you think back to those teams being in it? What's the thing that stands out to you?
Locker room, 100%. And it's something that, maybe people outside of sports or outside of football wouldn't think of, but it's a lot of coaches say it and it's true. And I didn't know how true it was going to be because Sweeney used to tell us this, but it's not, oh man, us winning this game, us doing this, us achieving this. I mean, sure, those things are great, but what you really remember and what you really cherish are sitting in the locker room before a 5:30 workout and everybody's staring at the floor and just, like everybody's about to go through the worst physical thing that they've ever done, but it's just looking back on it and we all laugh and joke and just, the camaraderie within the locker room is 100% the thing that you remember the most. The love that everybody had for each other is something that can never be taken away. And man, just had so many good times together. I mean, that is the one thing that whenever you think back, and I know whenever I'm older, much older, that's the thing that I'll think back. It won't be, sure, I'll think about how great it was beating Notre Dame in the pouring rain. Sure, I'll think about how great it was watching Hunter Renfrow catch a touchdown for a national championship. That stuff's obvious, right? But I mean, what you want to go back and redo more is the jokes in the locker room, is the camaraderie, us all hanging out together. That's what you really miss, and that's what really is so special about it. And I think that's why I made those teams so special, is because we loved each other. I mean, we loved being around each other. We wanted to play for each other, and that's truly what made us, I think, special. Is because there was so just intense love for that everyone had for everyone on that team. I mean, I can't tell you there wasn't a guy that was like, dude, I cannot stand him, right? I mean, sure, you have your problems with some people, but I mean, at the end of the day, you may have not liked him that day, but you love the guy, and that's how it was, is that there was such an intense love that everyone had for each other, is that that's what made us special. And that's what you miss the most about it.
It's funny about that Notre Dame game. I went through 3 cameras that game, just from the lens fogging up or the thing breaking. My station still reminds me of it. I can remember doing post-game interviews, and you guys didn't want to talk. We didn't really want to ask questions.
Right.
It was like the most exciting game that any of us had seen.
Right.
It was just a very interesting dynamic there. Anyone that went to that game in Death Valley, that's a story. To end it on a 2-point conversion stop. My goodness. That's one of the things that'll stand out whenever my time's done covering Clemson, for sure. So you leave Clemson with some impressive marks. I want to rattle off a few of them. 46 games for the Tigers, 29 starts, more than 2,500 snaps on the Clemson offense. It's one of the all-time greats. A 2-year team captain. I'm sure that means a ton to you, given the names that were on that team and the amount of respect that we know that those guys had for you. But a 2-year team captain's an impressive milestone. A lot of us thought that you'd have a decently long career in the league. Didn't work out that way. Cup of coffee and some training camps. But when it doesn't work out and you realize that the football playing career is going to end, how did you handle that adversity? You'd already been through so much, but obviously not the way you wanted your playing career to end.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think for me was that things that I had gone through in my life already had prepared me for that, had prepared me for hardships. And, I am, look back on it, I'm fortunate to have gone through what I did because, now I know how a healthy way to deal with things, but of course, every guy thinks he's going to go play in the NFL for 10 years and ride off in the sunset, with his big Super Bowl ring and all that. I mean, yeah, that's what I wanted, but that's not what happened. And, I think for me, it was knowing that I'd done everything I could to get that opportunity. And, at the end of the day, if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And, I have absolutely zero regret. I mean, I did what I thought I could, and I tried my tail off, to be able to play in the NFL, and it just didn't happen. But, I wouldn't be where I am today if I had gone and bounced around a bunch of training camps, because things happen for a reason. And it's really, really hard in that moment to understand that, because I had, sure, after I come home off the flight from Buffalo, I'm thinking that I'm gonna, they're gonna hold on to me, and they don't. It's really easy to say why, like why. I thought that I'd done everything that I did, and I just know I remember my mom just saying, well, there's a reason for it. I remember just thinking and being like, what is that? Why? But looking back on it now, I mean, I don't know if I would be where I am if I had, gone and then been there for, a summer, and then they cut me and this and that. I mean, you never know. But like I said, I mean, I think I did everything that I could to put myself in the best situation to be kept, and I didn't. And but I'm so fortunate for where I am now that it's really all water under the bridge, and it is what it is. And I'm just fortunate for the experiences that I did have, and don't like to dwell on the ones that I didn't.
You certainly, you've always been a goal-oriented, driven guy, and you don't take any time off. You get right into the coaching game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Get your foot in the door at Georgia State under Sean Elliott. A lot of us know him of the interim head coach of the Gamecocks when Steve Spurrier left the program,
Mm-hmm.
and longtime offensive line coach. So obviously there's a connection there. What did you learn from him in your short time at Georgia State?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Elliott's a guy that I look up to a lot. I didn't really know him before I got there, so really my connection there was Thomas Austin, who was my offensive line GA at Clemson, who's now back at Clemson. Had just gotten the job there, and he knew that I was looking for a graduate assistant spot, and had said, hey, this might be a thing, but with Sean, I mean, he's a guy that just, for one, I clicked with like day one. I mean, still text him all the time now. Asking him how he's doing. He asked me how I'm doing. I mean, a dude that I look up to a lot, just because he's been there, done that, and has had success, but also, the way that he works. I think we're very like-minded in that aspect, but, just with him, it's how to push people and how to get people out of their comfort zones without going overboard. I think is one thing that he does so well. He demands a lot out of his players, but they love him, and because he demands what he feels like they can give. It's not like he's asking them to do something that they can. He demands out of them what he thinks that they can get, what he can get out of them, and he has a genuine appreciation for them. And, he does a really good job with that, but he's a guy that I look up to tremendously, just, outside of football and schematics and all that. I mean, that's a whole nother story. And I think that that's one thing that makes him so great, is he sees it, just on the field better than I've seen most people. I mean, he really is like this, especially a run game wise, but, took a lot from him, football, outside of football, and then with Thomas Austin there, I mean, another guy has taught me how to be a good human being, a good coach, how to coach. I mean, both of those guys with my short time there, I mean, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now without Sean Elliott, honestly. He was able to give me a recommendation and all that. And, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So, I have all the thanks for him, he and Thomas, and those dudes are forever going to be special to me.
That leads us to 2020, where you end up at Western Carolina, and it's been a little over a year now. That's probably just felt like one really long day up until the spring season got going. But we touched on a lot of speed bumps that you've gone through. You've gotten past a lot of adversity. How much has those past experiences helped you not only deal with the pandemic yourself, but also be a leader of young men, knowing that you've gone through a lot already, mm-hmm. and you've been tested, that you can handle this?
Well, I think with the pandemic first, it's just like I said, I mean, finding a healthy way to deal with things and to cope with things, but also I think with being able to be a leader of men is it's, they're, for one, it's not all football all the time, right? It's understanding that they are more than just football players and they're people, but two, I think it is, I'm one of those guys that always thinks of, sure, he may seem one way, but how are you really, And so I don't like to be one of those guys that is, I don't know even how to say it, but being hard all the time, I mean, it's okay to feel a certain kind of way, and it's okay to have a bad day. But I want to be a coach and a guy that is approachable. I don't think there's anything worse than someone that's a leader that you feel like you can't go talk to, because that's not a true leader. A true leader, I think, is someone that you can voice your opinion to respectfully, and how you feel and your thoughts respectfully, and know that that person is going to take it into consideration, is going to listen to what you actually say, but is also going to be able to be there for you if you're in time of need or help or whatever. So, I think it's just trying to take my past experiences and know how I wanted to be treated and how I was treated, and taking that and trying to be on the flip side of it, and really care for the person, not just the player, is something that I feel very strong about, and loving my guys as much as I can, because I mean, I got a special group. We've got a special group here at Western with everyone, but I know my guys in my tight ends room. I mean, I want those guys to be, always feel like my door's open. The guys with the offensive line here feel like my door's always open, and that I'm here to talk, because it's not football all the time, every day, all the time. I'm also here, and you're a person, I'm a person, and we can talk like gentlemen, and have that relationship. And I feel fortunate that I do. So that's really, with me, the biggest thing is just trying to know how I wanted to be treated. I mean, it's the golden rule, right? Treat people like you want to be treated. Well, that's really what I try and live by, and that's it. It's that simple. It doesn't seems like there should be something magic, but at the end of the day, it's just treating people like I want to be treated.
Well, I think that's a great mindset for anyone starting a new career, certainly for young aspiring football coaches. That's really good stuff there. I know you got to get out of here in a minute. And I appreciate you taking some time in the middle of the season to sit down with us. I don't know if you know this is coming or not, but I haven't talked to Jay Guillermo in 5 years. And if I'm talking to Jay Guillermo, there's one thing I can't let you get out of here before I ask you to do. Now, you are famous for your Dabo Sweeney impression.
Yeah.
I'd argue that you're better at Coach Venables, and even better than that, Coach Caldwell. So what I'd like you to do, you could pick one of the three.
All right.
You do all three. But if you, I know you're tight on time, pick one of the three, and I want either Coach Sweeney, Coach Venables, or Coach Caldwell having trouble ordering something in a drive-through.
Having trouble ordering something in a drive-through. Let's see. Well, let's go Coach Caldwell, because he's old, so he probably has trouble with that anyways. No. He said, well, shoot, honey, all I want is a daggum cheeseburger. I don't know why I can't get a cheeseburger. I don't know why you say you're out of the buns. It don't matter. I don't need it. I got them at home, honey. So I don't know. Shoot, and it's $1.95. I can go down to the McDonald's and get it for 25 cents back in my day. But shoot, I guess it ain't my day no more. Shoot. So I guess I'll pay my $3.50 to get one cheeseburger. But
you haven't lost.
I try and give these guys a little bit of Caldwell every now and then. Once again, maybe something that I
do they know you do a Dabo impressions?
Oh yeah, they've heard it.
All you gotta do is Google you.
Huh?
All you gotta do is Google you.
Oh, exactly. Well, that's what I told them. I was like, guys, y'all don't have to ask me to do it. All you got to do is just Google it. I was like, there's 500 clips of me on Google doing it.
From me. All right. Jay, I appreciate the time. Coach Jay Guillermo, just starting out, certainly a bright future. I appreciate you taking some time with us here on In Depth with Fox Carolina Sports. Good luck as you get set to finish this season out. And then again, not a lot of breathing room this year as you get set for the fall season coming up. But certainly appreciate you being candid in your experiences and sharing some thoughts for a lot of folks out there listening. It's an incredible story, and one I certainly hope people take close to heart. It's one of the better success stories that are out there to ever come out of the upstate. So again, thanks so much, man. Good luck the rest of this year.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Thank you for the time, and man, I just hope to get back up to Clemson sometime, and go Tigers, go Cats.
There you go. Jay Guillermo, the one and only. Thank you for joining us here for In Depth with Fox Carolina Sports. Another great guest coming up for you next week. Have a great one.